If you are a programmer or starting your career as a programmer, then I'm sure you have heard about GitHub. But do you know what is it all about and how is it useful for a programmer? Hi guys, welcome back to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. In today's video, we will learn about Git and GitHub. Before starting the video, let's have a look at the topics that we are going to cover in this video. What is Git? How GitHub works? What is version control? What are repositories? And important commands used in GitHub. So let's get started.
Hello everyone. So today we'll be discussing about the concept of Git being a version control system. Earlier we had discussed what a version control system is. So yeah, we'll continue with Git. So there are other version control system, but we will be using Git. So I'm using Mac. So you can. So latest source release as of now is 2.30.1. So you can download it, and as in I can download the same from here. I already downloaded, so you can download the same. Okay, cool. So we will discuss like why Git is better than the other version control system, and then we will move on to what is GitHub. Okay, so Git being a version control system. So basically, Git in a nutshell, as we have discussed that Git in the previous session about version control system. So there is this distributed version control system. So Git is actually a distributed version control system, and with basically kind of history definition also, right? In this basically it has snapshots and not differences. So in the previous version control system, we actually had differences. In Git, every local system have the snapshots of whatever happened in the past. Like we covered like history, right? So every basically like there will be a local system, and then in the local system, whatever user is using that particular like code or something, code or DB or something, that entire thing will be present in the local. That entire snapshot of the entire history will be present in the local. You don't have to worry about the network to be present there. That's what they will be telling, that nearly every operation in Git is local. So they'll be committing, they'll be staging. So we will cover like what committing, staging, and basically pushing the code is in a later thing when we will be covering about the what we say statements and keys, and we use in React. Keys we use in Git. My bad. Keys we use in Git. Okay. So basically, yeah. So most operations in Git need only local files and resource to operate. So generally, no information is needed from another computer on your network. So basically, even when you are on VPN and when you are using, let's say, you are off network, right? So and then you need to commit your code, you need to stage your code. So basically, in Git, you don't need to have a network access. That is not required. You can commit all the changes in your local and still it will be saved. You don't have to worry that if my power goes off or something like that, my code will be gone. So these kind of things you don't have to worry when you are working with Git. You can commit your code and anything can happen. Like your OS can become corrupt, and it's okay. Like okay, OS become corrupt, you have to push the code. But then until and unless you have committed the code, and let's say because you have made a repo, and then whatever changes that you have done, even if you check out again, so those changes will come back to you. So that's how Git works. So I can try to give an example. So I think you guys can see my screen. So cool. So basically, let's say I'll do something like git fetch. So git fetch will basically gives me all the branches that have been changed, and okay, git branch. So all these branches I have made changes on, and these are all the local branches that I have basically push commit to. Okay, so the thing is that okay, so in my local, so all these branches are present in my local. Okay, so anytime I make some change in the next branch, or a newer version of branch, I can still access the previous version of branches, right? So basically all these are local copies that are being present in my system, and I don't have to worry about network being available or not available, and I can always check out these branches. Check out again is a kind of a key, or a term that we use in Git, and we will cover it at a later stage. Cool. So yeah, basically everything is present in the history, and we are able to access that history. Okay, Git has integrity. Everything in Git is checksum before it is stored, and is then referred to by that checksum. So yeah, basically it says that everything that we change in impossible to change the content of files or directory without giving the information, without Git knowing it. So let's say whenever I'm making a change, so generally what happens that whenever I'm making a change, so basically Git provides me a thing that I can reduce, like who made the change, when the change was made, so all this thing. So generally when I do this kind of a thing, I'll try to write git log. You guys might not be able to see that, but yeah, so basically what I did, I write git log, and then git log basically shows me that all these these commits were made. Okay, so these commits you can see. So basically, so it is carrying a history along with it, right? So all this history is being used. Use another branch. Yeah, this branch would be good. So yeah, perfect. So see, this has only one commit. Yeah. Cool. So get only that is okay. Like whatever data that you are adding, like Git will be aware of that. So now coming to the main thing, the three states. So there are three states that are in Git. What are these three states? Sorry for that. So if so basically three states being modified, staged, and committed. Okay, so we will so modified means that you have changed the file but have not committed it to your database yet. Stage means that you have marked a modified file. So modified means you have made a change in your local. Okay, so we will like try to cover it in layman definition terms. So modifying means that you have made the change but you have not committed in your like DB. So let's say version control system has a DB which will be having all the changes that have been made. Stage means that you have marked a modified file in its current version to go into your next commit snapshot. So stage means that so just think in terms of when you try to sell a house, right? So you can sell a property only when you have stages somewhere, right? So basically you have added the property in the into the sales property list. So that is what staging is, that you have staged the changes, that these changes need to be committed. Then committed means that the data is safely stored in your local database. Okay, so we will try to basically check this using this guy. So let's say this is a home.php file. Cool. So let's say I make a change, I add a comment, something new. So see, this is the file, and this basically comes here, and these are changes, right? So what I do now, I'll clear it. I basically add these changes. So just keep looking at the left hand side. So these are the changes. Okay, now these are stage changes. So basically, I have what git add does. Git add basically does nothing but whatever changes that I have made, it staged those changes. Okay, now what happened? So basically, let's say, uh, so these are stage changes, right? So I'll remove it from here, and I'll remove it also from here. So basically, these again come back to the normal changes. When I try to do git commit minus m. So git commit is basically you are trying to commit it in your local. Git commit minus m, make changes. So it says that your branch is up to date, changes not staged for commit. Okay, so whatever changes I'm doing, those needs to be staged to commit. Okay, so until and unless those are staged, it will give me an error. Got it? So basically, what I'm trying to do here is that I'm trying to commit all the changes that I've done to my local, and I'm not able to do that. I'll just try to, yeah, now it will be better. So yeah, so basically what I'm trying to do here, I'm trying to commit my changes to my local system, but I'm not able to do that because I haven't staged the changes. Okay, so basically for staging, I have this command git add. Okay, and now when I'll commit it, these changes will be committed. Got it? So yeah, so basically this is the basic structure of Git. Like, you know what stages we have in Git uh, 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 until when we are making a change in our local system. Cool. So this is about Git. Now we will discuss what is GitHub. So GitHub is basically nothing but, so we basically create a repo right here. We create some, so we will be having some local code structure, and this local code structure needs to be hosted somewhere. So GitHub is nothing but when you host your repos, so it is a repository holder. Okay, so all your repos can be hosted on GitHub. That's it. That's all. So basically there are many repository holders, but GitHub being the most popular one. So basically it's like hub of Git, hub of your all the code, all the version control system that you are managing. So basically GitHub is the most popular repository holder. Okay, so that is what GitHub is. Okay, cool. So we will cover about the terminologies and the key names that are used in Git from now. Okay, cool. I hope you guys all are doing fine. So guys, today we'll be discussing about a really important feature, or you can say a technology that is being used by various companies, various developers all across the globe. Okay, so let's coming to the point. We will be discussing about version control system today. Okay, so what version control system is and what version control system we are going to use. So we are going to use Git. Okay, Git is the most popular version control system, and it's being used by various companies, and like various MNCs also rely on Git only. Okay, so yeah, we will be using Git. So coming to the main point, like what a version control system is. So okay, let me start with an example. So let's say there is a big multinational company, okay, and so there might be many developers that are basically, that has offices and that have employees all across the globe. Okay, and now basically there are many people who are working on the same thing. Correct. So let's say the people are working on the same thing, and then one person make a change, and then the other person is able to see that change, right? So basically that is a kind of a version control system. Like, all are working on the same cluster or same group of code, and whenever one does a change on that cluster, it should be reflected to the other person that is in the same cluster, Right. So basically, this kind of a thing is maintained by version control system. So like, let's say there is a person one, then there is a person two. So what person one does? Person one basically push his code or push his things, whatever he want to do to that cluster before person two, and that person one push thing will be like, let's say, version one. Okay, and then person two push something, and that will be version two. So that this kind of version controlling is maintained by your version control system. Okay, so in this manner, version control system is like really necessary because many companies, many people are working on a large scale thing, and then we will discuss like why on another note the this Git as a version control system is more necessary. Okay, and what Git provides over the top of other version control system. Cool. So let's get started. So basically, guys, this is Git sem.com. You guys can refer to it only. This is like a holy Bible when we are referring to Git. So what we will do, we will generally refer to the documentation provided by the major website only. Okay. So yeah. So let's get started. So about version control, the definition that they have. What is version control and why you should care? Version control is a system that records changes to a file or set of files over time so that you can recall specific versions later. So as we discussed that, person one changed something in the file, and then person two is also making a change to the file. So person two should be aware that, person one has made a change to that particular file. So for example, in this book, you will see software source code as the file being version control. So in reality, you can do this manually. But like the thing is that they also want to say the same thing, but in a different. Okay. If you are a graphic or web designer and want to keep every version or image of layout, it's a very wise thing to use. It allows you to revert selected files back to previous state, so what I mean to say, like, when you're working on a version control, you can also like revert so the best thing is that you can revert your changes to the previous version because you will be having a versioning, right? So let's say your version 2 basically gives some error. Whatever person 2 has committed, it gives some error. Then you need to revert it back to the person 1's code, right? So that way, basically, version control is quite helpful, and it's that's why one of the reason it's one of the most popular thing all across. So yeah, that's the thing. So about version control system, and then they are given. So basically, without version control system, what problems can arise? As we have seen that there might be when we are talking about a big conglomerate or big corporation, there might be problem of collaboration, right? So this problem is being solved by version control. Now they have given an example of what kind of version control system can be there. So local version control systems and centralized version control systems and distributed version control system. So cool. So local means like you actually keep a local track of your so there is a version database. So you keep a track of your versions internally. So let's say like many developers do that on a common basis. So let's say I create a branch from the parent branch, and then I keep on versioning it, giving it versions. So let's say I made a commit. So we will talk about like what commit is. Just consider that whatever code you're in Git, whatever code you are working in, consider it as a tree. Okay, so there might be branches, there might be some things. We will be discussing that in detail later. But yeah, like let's now consider that in when we are talking about Git, every code that we are talking about, it will just consider it as a tree. Okay, so generally what happened that we kind of copy our code into another directory and create another version of the same thing. So let's say you are working on a project. So let's say we had a project. Let's say we created that game, right? So we had that game folder, and then I copied the entire thing and saved it somewhere else. So basically, I name it version 2 of game. Right, so this is the most common approach. So, like in which you can do version control thing. that whatever change, the next change you are doing, that will be kind of stored in your local system. So that's one of the things that you can do for the version control management. And apart from that, yeah, so basically in this manner you can, whatever in local files you are making the change, you will be able to see that those changes, right? So this is like local so they have given a representation, diagrammatic representation. So you check out something files, and then you on your local data, storage only, you are basically storing version 1, version 2, version 3, and then version 2, you are pointing the version 3 to the main code, that whatever changes that you have done, that will be version 3, right? So that's kind of a local version control system that you can manage that, but it is error prone, right, as they have written. Then we come to centralized version control system. So centralized version control system is like when you are collaborating. So local version control system you can use when you are working as a sole developer. No one else is working on the stuff, and you are the only one, and you can create as many repos or as many copies in your local system. But when you are working with a group of developers, right, you need to collaborate with them. So to deal with this problem, basically the centralized version control system was built. So what centralized version control system is? So they have given some examples such as CVS, Subversion, and Perforce. We don't use them, but like when only dealing with multiple developers. So what they meant that it contains have a single server that actually contains all the version files and a number of clients that check out files from that central place. So basically, there'll be it will be storing the information that about what all versions of files are there and what all people are connected with it, right? So let's say there are X number of persons working with a particular company, and they are using centralized version control system. So there'll be certain files on the server, version control server, and let's say there are n number of versions, right? So basically these n number of versions must be accessible to these X number of persons, and so vice versa, this information is stored on both the things. So it used to be like a standard for many years. Like earlier, Perforce was quite popular, Subversion also. So basically, that now talking about the setup. So basically, it just only offers that particular versions will giving access to that particular version to that person. This setup offers many advantages, especially over when you were working with. So previously, we were working with localized version control system. It actually is more preferable to that, because now I can work with a centralized group of people because many people will be working on my code base. So everyone knows to a certain degree what. Yeah. So the thing is, everyone knows that what a particular person is doing. So whenever a particular person is working on a particular version, so they know that the task assigning of tasks actually started from this centralized version control system. So yeah, basically manager or administrator has more rights. That's what they want to say. So basically, then again there were some downsides also. The most obvious one is the single point of failure that the centralized server represents. Yeah, so basically there was just one centralized VCS server. So it says that whenever a server goes down, whenever the centralized server version control system goes down, everyone will be like, nobody can collaborate on the same thing, and it will be like gone. So that's like there was no mechanism of backups at the local thing. So everyone was relying on the centralized server only for getting the versions, right. So whenever there was used to be a problem with the version, then so if the hard disk, the central database becomes corrupted and proper backups haven't been kept, you lose absolutely everything, the entire history of the project, except snapshots people happen to have on their local machines. So what they meant to say, like, let's say this centralized version control system becomes corrupt, right? There are, let's say, three versions as of now, right? And computer A, this person on computer A is working on version 3, and this person is working on version 2. Version 1 will be lost forever, right? Because nobody is working on the version 1. So that's the thing with the version control system, the centralized version control system. So local also suffer from the same problem, because the server on which we were dropping the files, that remained the one. Cool. So basically we discussed the drawbacks of centralized version control system and the advantages that it has to offer. Cool. Now comes the distributed version control system that we will be using. So Git is basically a distributed version control system. So basically, to resolve all these issues, if the server goes down for an hour, then nobody can collaborate. So and other than that, it's losing of data. So what it offers on top of every this other version control systems is that it actually offers it. It also offers the history part, right? So history basically, what developer had worked on what versions and what all versions are there. So when you like fetch the code, so basically you can fetch the entire code structure, like whatever. So like, let's say we will talk about, as I said, that there in Git we refer it to as a tree, and then tree can has many branches. Similarly, our code can have many branches. So basically, every branch is a kind of a version. Just over the top view, I'm giving you a description that what in Git, how the structure of code looks like. So what they are saying, that clients don't just check out the latest snapshot of files, rather they fully mirror the repository, including its full history. So what it means that it actually, when I make a pull from this thing, like when I pull the entire project, I actually get the entire repository with all the branches, with all the versions. So basically, I got full history of it, right? Thus, if any server dies, I don't care about it. And basically, these systems were collaborating. Whatever systems we were working on, these systems were collaborating. These will be having histories of the files, right? So any file, any of the like repo or project from client, whoever is working on it, can be copied to the server, and we can restore it, right? So it become quite easy for everyone, that because this history, this entire history of the tree is maintained. So it become quite easy for everyone to share and to bring back the repository in a correct manner, correct state. So yeah, so basically these are few of the advantages that distributed version control system actually gave us, right? So it gives us a thing that we can actually restore the previous versions also, and whatever, even if the centralized system becomes the server become version control system server become corrupt by any chance, still the people will be having history to revert it back. Right. So just to go through again. So like, let's say computer A file has a version database version 3. So yeah, basically remote repositories. When you're working with remote repositories, it gives you basically an upper hand, that you don't rely on the central repositories for this thing. Your code base, and you will be having the entire history, whoever has made the changes, what files were changed when. So entire history of the entire project is being given to you. Okay, so that being said, like we have discussed many things about version control system. As we discussed, that version control system is a really important system that is being used by many big many big organizations. Even smaller developers are using for their day-to-day. You can see many people using, submitting their portfolios on, putting their portfolios on Git. So yeah, like it's not specific to only front-end developer. Many developers, many other languages, Git. I think there might be more than what 70 or 80 million of repos on that they're present on Git, and like it's uncountable actually. On a day-to-day basis, these repos keep on increasing. So yeah, like there is no way you can track the number of repos. So basically, version control is one of the important things when we are talking about any sort of development. Like when you want to put your code out for people, they can access it, they can work on it. So yeah, version controlling is really important for that. So we discussed local version control systems, like when people just copy their thing in their directory and basically check out from there only. Then we can discuss centralized version control system, and then we discuss distributed version control system, which is Git. Drawbacks and advantages of centralized version control system, and how distributed version control system came over that drawbacks, and basically gave us an advantage over other version control systems. So yeah, cool. So now guys, we'll be continuing towards Git. So guys, now we'll be discussing about repositories. We have discussed in previous session about Git and Git versus GitHub. So what GitHub is. So I'll just open GitHub here. Okay. So yeah, where the world builds software. So basically, you can host your repositories here. Okay, it's like every repository is hosted. Just a moment. Cool. So basically, yeah. So basically, this is Git, and all these projects are basically, it will just. So these are all the repositories which I basically created on GitHub. Okay. So basically, what are repositories? Okay. So about repositories, we'll go on to the GitHub docs only. So repository contains all your project's file and each file's revision history. You can discuss and manage your project's work within the repository. So the thing is, so when I say that GitHub is a repository holder over cloud, so basically, whatever changes that I am making on my local file. So basically, let's say, you have your project, you have a folder, you have a file folder, and then you uploaded that thing on GitHub. Okay, so this is what I did. So basically, I had a crop image upload thing. Okay, so what I need to do, I basically need to add a crop image upload. Okay, and this entire thing was present in my local, and what I did, I moved it to GitHub. I created a repository named crop image upload, and this becomes a I can also add a new repository. I can basically I can give repository name. I can add a readme file, and then I can add particular files also, like let's say new dummy. Okay, it contains dummy files. You can add get ignore, you can choose a license. I can create repository just like that. Okay, so basically it gives me steps, like how can so this is new, like I have basically created a new dummy.git. So whenever I need to clone it, whenever I need to clone this particular repository in my local, I can use this particular URL. This is an HTTPS URL. Then there are two kinds of URL, SSH and HTTPS. Generally we use HTTPS. It totally depends on you what you want to use. We just need to use git clone and then this URL. Okay. So basically, we can create a new repository using command line interface. Command line interface, we will comment what command line interface at a later stage, but they have given us certain steps that we can use to add a particular folder to this particular Git repository. Okay, so these are a few of the things. Also, I can import code. Okay, I can import code from other repository. You know what, I have just have to give the repository URL. Okay, so basically in this way I can do it. So let's say what I can do now. Okay, I'll be having this, might have added the particular repository. I can add it in the I can add code in my repository. Okay, coming back now to the repository definition. You can own repository individually, or you can share ownership of repositories with other people in an organization. I'll tell you. So basically this particular repository, okay, this has been created by someone else, but we both are owner. We both can change the this particular repository. Okay. So yeah, so basically now we will come on to so we can restrict the access to repository by choosing the repository's visibility. Okay, so yeah, that's the thing. Like I can just give me a moment. So I can basically change the repository visibility to whoever is concerned about it. I'll just provide the visibility to people that I basically want them to be aware that this repository exists. Generally, in many organization, so basically so the organization that I am working with, and so basically they'll be having private Gits, private GitHub repositories, and that will be only accessible to the people who are working with that particular organization. Okay, so for user owned repositories, like if there is a repository that I own, I can give access to particular individuals, and that is totally upon me, that whoever wants to collaborate on that project can have access to that particular repository. If a repository is owned by an organization, you can give organization member access permissions. That is like kind of same, but yeah, like it's like one to many, and then it is like so the structure is like GitHub. There is a major one GitHub repo, and then you are giving access to many in your organizations. Perfect. So cool. Creating a new repository. So we check that how I can create new repository. We followed all these steps, and we can, in this manner, we can create a repository. We have covered it, right? So what are code owners? Code owners is basically to define individuals or teams that are responsible for a code and repository. We generally have a code owners file also. Like I can set up a code owners file in repository. Generally we have a code owners, like when we want to say that these are the code owners and these can be accessible. So generally when you let's say, so basically when I create a pull request, let's say, so there is no pull request as such. Okay, what I'll do. Okay. So basically, generally we have pull request, and generally we have like whatever. So basically, see, these are the contributors. I was also a contributor in this. So basically we can see the contributors or the code owners from this particular thing. Generally it is we have a code owners file, which basically have all the details of whatever people who are working on the current repository. Uh, cool, no issues. So yeah, code owners we have covered. So basically, these are the docs that are being provided by GitHub. So these are GitHub official docs. I'll refer you guys to refer always to the official docs that are being provided by any, like we also refer when we were talking about Git, we refer about the Git official docs. When we are talking about GitHub, we are also discussing about GitHub official docs, right? So committing changes to your project, this basically commit we have discussed. We will discuss about these statements, yeah, in the next section. But as of now, like what is a repository and how repository are hosted on GitHub. So that is one thing that we have covered in this section, right? So like we covered what is a repository. Repository is nothing but the collection of file and database that were present in our local. We move it to the GitHub. Okay. So basically, it consists of all the files that it consists of all of the history. It consists of all the files that have been changed. So it consists of all the information that of whoever people are working with, who all have access to the code base. So basically, yeah, repository in from the top view, it contains all these information. Cool. So yeah, this is repository. So guys, now we'll be talking about the terminologies and basically the key terms that we use while using Git. So the first being CLI, command line interface. So what a command line interface is? So command line interface is in Mac it will be terminal, and in Windows, if you are using Windows, it will be command prompt. Okay, so for me it will be like I'll just type terminal here, and basically it will lead me to this screen, this window. Okay, so here we will be typing all our Git commands that we will be using. Okay, and yeah, so basically it's a GUI version. So let's say wherever I have hosted my project, I'll go there. Let's say CD project and ls. So CD full stack ppt. Okay, so basically something like this, and I'll just go there. So basically, there have been these changes that have been made. So yeah, so basically I can see that these changes have been made in this particular folder structure. So yeah, basically I'm inside my Git repository, my local Git repository. I can access my local repos using local file system using my command line interface. Okay, so this is a command line interface, and now okay. So first of all, we have to install Git. In the earlier session, I have shared this link. So whenever you will go like gitscm.com, so you will just see there is a download option available. You can download it. I have Mac. You can have Windows or Linux. Correspondingly, you will see the download link. Okay, so it has given. So this page has given all the steps that you need to install it on your particular system. So I have used Mac, so I'll just use Git version here, and it will give me Git version 2.15.0. I have already installed it. So when you will write Git in your command line interface, you will be able to see all these terms. Okay, so it means that Git has been installed on your system. They are as simple as that. So basically install Git, and then we will be moving forward. Cool. So basically getting started. First thing, Git setup. So generally, okay. So basically what Git setup is, you have to do certain things when you have done installing Git in your local environment. So basically Git creates an environment in which you can whatever your file or your folder things are there, they will be you can put them under a Git kind of overall it will be handled by Git version control system. That's what we want, right? So whatever changes I'm doing, that will be under the umbrella of Git version control system. So there is a git config file that basically, git config file basically occurs in three places. You can change in all these three. So there is path slash etc slash git config. Generally uh, in Mac it is under users. Like my user is tarun.tara and there it will be residing. Okay, contains values applied to every user on the system and all their repositories. Okay, and if you okay, so basically, so there are three possible places where it will be placed. So first, it is generally home. It is non-specific to user. The slash etc slash git config file, like it will be whatever users are there on your system, they will all be accessible. Like this git particular version will be accessible to all your git users. Other than that, we have like config file, the git config file, like it will be only pertaining to that particular user. So let's say, I am a user and I in my slash dot git config, like in my user or something in my parent directory, I have given that, dot git config, and it is pertaining to me only. Okay, and this affects all the repositories you work within your system, like this for the particular user. For this thing, you need administrator or super user privilege. Then we have the third one, which is basically repository config pertaining to particular repository. Like you want certain configs that will be to a particular repository only. Okay. So on Windows, Git looks for the .git config file in the home directory. Generally, it is C users slash dollar whatever user you are using, and it also looks for path slash etc. Although it's related to like root. Basically, what we are saying that at the root we have changed the git config file. Generally, we use everywhere we use this C when we are using Windows. C user slash particular user, we will add the git config file. This file. Okay, so yeah, basically what we need to do, we need to change our identity. We need to change our name. Okay, so set your username, and this is, yeah, so basically this is how you can add your this guy name and email. So when I access it, so I can access it using so git config user. So I have a git config, and in that config, my username is tarun.tara, right? And then, so basically I can get all the information from my git config. Okay, so like whenever you are trying to commit something, so you need to tell that, so these are the particular configs, this is the username, this is the user email address from where the changes will be made. So, whenever basically in history, basically when we see, so that's why, it came to know that the changes have been made by tarun.tara or whatever email ID you have provided. So xyz@gmail.com has done the changes. So like, this is the way, like, config basically gives us all the information about the particular things that have been done. Okay, so user related information, and there are many set of informations. You can go through it, like git config list. Okay, so basically it gives me the entire list of the details which are there. Okay, so remote.origin.fetch, so every other details, user.email is this, user.name is this, so every detail is being given to config. Okay, so this is about the config, where it resides. So it resides at three places. Cool. So it can reside at three places. You can choose one. Majorly used one is the second one. What is the drawback of the third one? Like when you have a particular git config in your own repo, you need to be somewhere located in, every time you want to access git, you need to be somewhere located. So let's say what it means that, I'll go one level top. So I'm in project right now and still I'm able to access git, right? So the thing is, with this git config, like this particular config that I'm using, it will be accessible only under under this particular repository. Okay, so let's say I have a username XYZ in the particular local repository. It will be only accessible to that local repository. Cool. Now let's head on to the next one. So yeah, basically there is git help. So git help basically is, okay, I'll just I think you guys are able to see it. So git help. So these are the common used git commands that are, okay, now I think you will be able to see it. So clone a repository into a new directory. I can clone the current repository in it, create an empty git repository or reinitialize an existing one. Okay, init means that, you know, when I do git init in a particular repository, it initializes that, you know, every time I create a new repository, I have to do git init. It means that, you know, I have initialized I have created an empty git repository. I have initialized the version control mechanism in this particular folder structure. So when I'm working on the current changes, add file, as we discussed in add, git add dot, and then move or rename a file. These things you might have heard of. MV you might have used like in Linux commands. If not, then it's okay. We don't use MV much, but it's just that we want to move or rename a file. Reset current head to the specified state. Okay, we will go back to here. So these commands, okay, these channels are regularly filled with hundreds of people who are very nice. So yeah, you can go on to this channel, and you know, there is a GitHub. There might be a GitHub channel. So like you can just go through the chat. But yeah, like to be frank, we will just cover all these things. RM basically remove files. So like let's say this we can we can cover what RM does. RM basically you write RM something, it will remove that particular file. So generally from this we generally use. I'll just show what all things we use. We use log. We show commit logs. I haven't used show. Generally, we use logs only. Examine the history and state. So basically it shows like what all changes have been done and by whom. Okay, status also, yeah, show the working tree status. So what is the status, like, you know, what we mean by working tree. So as I mentioned earlier, that, you know, when we are working on a git version control system file structure, there'll be a tree, and then every time there'll be certain branches. Okay, so okay, so when I show you that thing, so let's say so like let's say git checkout -b. In this way I can create a new branch. New branch. Okay, so new branch is created. So basically when I say that git, first of all, my git branch, what is my branch? So my branch is new branch. Okay, so this is like new branch, and when I want to so git status is that it says on branch new branch, changes to be committed is this. Git reset head means that you will reset it to the you will reset the changes. Your changes will be gone if you reset it. Okay, so let's say git reset head. So the changes have been unstaged. Okay, basically if you want to unstage the changes, and like let's say I can also remove certain files. So let's say there might be index.html. Okay, rm index index.html. So index.html is gone when I do that. Okay, I'll try to, I can revert it from here. It is so simple. Okay, so basically, yeah, these are the things which we can do. So what RM does. So then again, we talk about git log. So see, basically I can see that, Hardik Singh, a developer who is working on this thing, have made a change, initial commit on this particular repository. Okay, so basically these are the logs, author is the name that we provided, then in email and the date. Okay, so basically these are few of the things that can be done using, so git log basically gives me the entire log that, this from, this is head, new branch. So my current head is pointing to new branch, and then there is origin pointed to the main branch that we were using. Okay, so we check that, we have two branch, one is main and the other is new branch. So current head is pointing to my new branch, and then also we have origin slash main, and when I'll go to git checkout main, so I have switched to branch main, and when I check status, git status, so see, basically then my head is pointing to main. Okay, so what it means that, in Git, every time there will be a tree structure and there will be many branches. So right now there is one main repo which will be at origin. Okay, origin, there will be one origin, like one source, and then there will be multiple branches. So right now branch is main, branch is new branch. Okay, so what I did, I basically pointed my this thing, my head, okay, how to say it. So basically right now my major branch where I have pointed, it is every when you are working, you will be pointing to a particular branch. Okay, so right now you are being pointed towards main. You can also point towards new branch. Okay, so this is how basically it works. So at a time you will be working on one branch, you can switch to other branches. So like I did, right, git checkout, I switched to other branch, so that you can also do. Then git log is done. So branch basically it will it will list all the branches, so which you are working with. Git branch. Okay, you can also delete a branch. Checkout switch branches or restore working tree files. You can check out. So like let's say I'm working on this particular thing, and then I know that there are two changes. So I'll just git checkout this, and what it does, it basically removes the changes. Okay, so git checkout basically restores the previous version files. So all the changes that I've done, so be quite specific, be quite peculiar about using git checkout, because it can revert to the previous versions of code that you were using. So git checkout does nothing but restore your code, and also it is also used to check out a particular branch, as we use like git checkout main, git checkout new branch, git checkout main, right? So these are the few of the things. So commit means whatever changes that you have done, you will commit it. Okay, like so again, so let's say yeah, this I'll save it. So now I have changed it one file. So basically this is a change. So we discuss about git add is to staging. Okay, so now the changes are staged. Now when I wanted to commit the stage changes, I'll do that git commit -m commit staged changes. I think you guys will not be able to see the code, but yeah, that's okay. So yeah, now you can see it, like, right? So git add stage my changes, and git commit -add commit stage changes basically commit my. So now in my local, it is not showing here, the changes are committed. Okay. So commit we have covered. Merge is like join two or more development histories together. So let's say uh, they your on your basically the system, the files have been updated by someone else, and you also need to change the particular so like you are working on one version and the versions on the major system have been updated. Then you will go back there and you can merge your code. So there are two ways you can do it. There is merge, there is rebase. Okay, so we generally use rebase, reapply commits on top of another, but when you want to save time and basically we can use git merge and git rebase both. But yeah, there is one thing that the major difference is that so git merge will be having its histories like all the logs and stuff. What this guy will do, merge will basically merge two histories together. Okay, and so what rebase does, rebase like you have your own thing and it commits the earlier commits on top of another on top of yours thing. Okay, so basically this is a major difference in between merge and rebase. So merge basically does merge like two histories, like there must be history of one system and then there must be history of another system. It basically joined two or more development histories together. Rebase is like apply commit on top of another base step. Okay, so commit as it is mentioned that record changes to the repository. The changes have been recorded. Now this is collaborate. So basically what collaborate is so these are when you fetch when you are working with a repository holder. So when you are working with GitHub, okay, so you can fetch, you can pull, you can push. So all these are really important. So basically what git fetch does, git fetch basically tells you, okay, I have to authorize, I have been and now, okay, where are you? Okay, I've given the token, but yeah, that's fine. I basically have to get the access for that particular thing. But yeah, like uh, whatever changes. So basically, this is a GitHub repo, and I want to fetch my all the changes that I've done from this repo to my local system. So I'll do git fetch. So basically, it will give me that in this particular time frame, these have been the changes that have been made in this particular. So like let's say if new branch have been created in the same repo. So in one repo, I can have multiple branches. Okay. So let's say in one repository, I have created these many branches and it will be shown in this list. Okay. So like let's say if the last I did git fetch. So then again, there is git pull. So let's say the current branch I'm working with, current branch is main. Okay. Then when I do git pull, so git pull again asks me for the sign in. So basically what it does, it basically checks for whatever changes I have made in a particular, like whatever changes I made in my, whatever changes have been made in that current branch that I'm working with, has there been a change that has been made on the GitHub? So I'll pull it and then basically, I'll, whatever changes, they will come into my system and then I'll push it. Push means basically I want to push the whatever changes that I have done to the particular repository, to the particular branch. Okay, so right now when we go on to this, so when we go on to this thing, yeah, so this is the one. So we will see that there is only one main branch. Okay, there are many things. There are e-business, there is e-learning. So basically, these are the branches that we are working with. Okay, there is e-business, there is main. Okay, so yeah, these are few of the branches that we are working with. Okay, so in this manner we can contribute it. Perfect. Great. So where were we? Just give me a moment. Yeah. So pull push. So basically pulling fetch all the changes that have been done in another repository. Like let's say you have a repository at GitHub, and then in a particular main branch there has been some change that is been made. You just fetch the changes from there. Push means update your GitHub repository with your changes that have been that you have made. Okay, so these are all the terminologies that we use while using Git. Okay, I hope this is clear now.